and yet people seem to know who I am, who listen to it. I don't know, but it's very heartening.
Do you think the internet has changed? Like, do you think the show would be as popular as it is without being able to podcast it?
No, definitely not. And for us, or for me anyway, I can't speak for Joe, but for me it was always about the podcast. You know, I like making things, and you know, me and Joe, that was what we were always into, was making things. And we used to do a show on XFM in the UK, in London, and it was really pretty bad for a long time, I would say. And me and Joe just didn't really, we weren't, you know, we were learning the ropes on the radio, and we weren't very good at it. And it took a really long time for us to get decent. But the thing that sort of changed it was when they started podcasting, and they said, "Do you want to do a podcast of your show?" And I was like, "Yeah, great," because then I can chop all the shit bits out. And so I produced it, and I would get tapes of the shows and chop them around, and they were only, you know, like out of a 3-hour show, you'd end up with a 10-minute podcast or something, because that was the only decent stuff. But it made me much more confident about it, and made me excited about it, and I like all the production stuff and making jingles and all that kind of thing, you know. And I mean, I've got a tendency to sort of over-stuff things and over-complicate things. So it was quite good going to the BBC, where I was forced to let go a little bit and work with a proper producer. And not that we didn't have proper producers at XFM, we did, but we had a really great producer at the BBC, James Sterling, who was really good at cutting it himself, and we trusted him to do a really good job, and I could still make jingles and put them in there, and it's just nice, you know. I like things that, because radio's so ephemeral, you know, and it's nice that at least with the podcast, you feel as if you've made something that might have some kind of life, you know.
Yeah, you've done a lot of television and radio. Which do you prefer, and why?
Well, I mean, it's really fun making TV, but only if it's all, if people want you to make it. I mean, I think we're going to do a TV show of Bug, and so that will give me the opportunity to make some more stuff as well as show other people's videos. So I'm really excited about doing that again. I haven't done that for years, like not since the Adam and Joe show, really. I've tried and failed a few times to do it. But there's so much bollocks that goes along with it, and so many other aspects that are very hard to control, and I find that quite anxious making, because I'm a control freak. But it's difficult, you know, and as I said, you know, I tend to overcomplicate things left to my own devices, and so for me the nicest thing, one of the things I'm proudest of and fondest of, is the radio stuff, I suppose. Because it's almost exactly what we always thought, you know, fantasized about doing when we first started doing TV, was like trying to capture what it was like being friends and sort of show off in that way, amuse people. Like, it's what me and Joe used to do when we went out, was show off and be like, try and make each other laugh. I think it was quite annoying for the people we were with, but for us it was hilarious. And then to sort of have, you know, feedback from people actually listening to the program who seem to like it is really, it's really cool.
Yeah, the Buggles once said that video killed the radio star. Do you think the internet has actually revived the radio star?
Yeah. And I think it's also revived the video star. Yes, as I say, I think podcasting was great, because it suddenly made it possible to hang on to all this stuff, and it also made it possible to do a certain type of radio program that was somewhere in between a improvised show and something that was a bit more polished, that you would want to listen to more than once, you know. It wasn't all just like, well, that was Will Smith, and the time is 10:59, and here's Tina with the traffic. You know, it was something else. It was people having conversations that you would enjoy listening in on. plus all it's a wonderful medium, isn't it? And all the fun little things that you can now do very easily on GarageBand, and even if you've not got any real musical skills. And all that, and how easy it is to upload them, and it's great, man. I love all that. I think it's really very empowering and cool. And again, much more spontaneous and closer to what's enjoyable about being friends with someone or making something than TV generally is. I mean, TV's a really tortured, painful process on the whole. And then making films, even worse, I would imagine, from what I've seen. Podcasting is great, man. That's the way forward.
Can you explain to our readers what The Bug Show is all about?
Well, I always tell people that it's like going around to a friend's house, and before you have dinner, a friend says, "Hey, look at this," and opens up his laptop or her laptop and shows you lots of stuff. And I mean, if people come around to my house, it'll be a mixture of my own stuff that I'm forcing them to watch, because I just make things that aren't really going to get seen anywhere else. I mean, now we're doing this TV show; they might get seen on TV, I suppose. But for the last 6 or 7 years or something, I've just been doing things for my own amusement, essentially, and then putting them on YouTube. So when people come round, I sort of say, "Oh yeah, I did a thing," and then I also say, "Oh mate, you've got to see this. Have you seen this?" And "Oh, you're not going to believe this." And so that is essentially what Bug is a mixture of all those, but focused on music videos rather than just virals and stuff. Music videos are just the ultimate art form, I think. They don't have the kind of self-regard and pomposity of feature films. They don't outstay their welcome. They're just packed with loads of good ideas, but they're like little puffs of smoke, and people don't really, I mean, there's some music video awards and things like that, but not really, not compared to movies. It's all about movies, isn't it? No one really gives a shit about music videos because they're seen as being like just a promotional tool, and that's the way some people treat them.
There are some, I mean, those directors' volumes, like the Jonathan Glazer and Michelle.
Yeah, but they stopped, didn't they? They only did 3, yeah. And I think they couldn't sustain it financially to carry on doing them. People every now and again have a go at doing things like that with music video, but for one reason or another, there just doesn't seem to be the appetite. I don't know, they can't sell them in that way. So anyway, Bug, the whole idea of Bug was to celebrate music videos for exactly that reason, and to see them on a big screen with nice meaty sound, because the only other way you were going to see them, especially since MTV stopped showing music videos and just showing the fucking Kardashians, was on the internet, and old videos, like all the great videos from the olden days in the 80s and 90s, they're all on like 240 resolution, and they're all blocky, so you can't really see them. I mean, we show mainly new videos at Bug, but yeah, it's just an excuse to see what's out there. And there's a little team of people, David Knight and Phil Tidy, who are music journalist and music video producer respectively, and they see pretty much everything that is made, and so they pick out the videos for the show, and then I kind of tie it all together. So sorry, I'm not being very succinct.
No, that's okay. It's great.
I'm a rambler.
How did the idea for it evolve?
Well, there was another show at the BFI, British Film Institute in London on the South Bank. I mean, there's a few people that show music videos, aren't there? 1.0 and Mirrorball, I think. I can't remember. Anyway, there's a few. But there was a show called Antenna, and I didn't even know about any of these things, and I went along with my friend Garth Jennings one day, and he was being interviewed by them because he makes a lot of music videos, and it was he and Spike Jonze on stage, and I'd never been before, and it was just amazing, so inspiring. Just saw, I mean, Antenna, they used to show like big blocks, like 5 videos back to back kind of thing, in just one block. So in the end of the evening, you would have seen like 20 or 30 videos. I mean, it was pretty hardcore. And then a couple of interviews, with directors and things like that. But then after a while, after they did 20 shows, they stopped, the people that organised that. And so we sort of picked up the baton, or rather David Knight and Louise Stevens, who set it up, did, and they asked me if I would present it, because I presented a couple of episodes of a couple of antenna shows in character, as my character Ken Corder. But then David Knight and Louise suggested that I do it as myself, which I was quite reluctant to do, because I don't like the idea of being a presenter, and not very confident in my own in my own presentational skills. That was 4 years ago, and now it's really fun, and because I kind of, after a while, merged it with my own stuff, and started, because I used to do stand-up shows just of my own bits and pieces, but now I kind of thought, I can crowbar this into Bug, so it'll be the best of both worlds for me, at least. I don't know how other people feel about it.
You've been a TV actor, film actor, stand-up comedian, radio broadcaster, TV presenter. Do you think you'll go on doing all of those things, or is there a need to specialise as you get older?
I don't know. I'd like to do all those things, because it's nice trying lots of different things. But it would be nice. I think the reason people specialise when they find something that they're very good at, I think, or if they've had a vocation. And I've never really found that one thing that I thought, yes, this is what I was put on earth to do, But I feel like since I started doing Bug, actually, that I'm getting closer to it. But I still would like to do more. I'd like to make more things, and I'd like to make more ambitious, direct more ambitious videos and short films or whatever, and move in that direction, I suppose. Building stupid sets, and it's the making of it that I really enjoy. I'm not sure I would be very good at what Joe does. I mean, he's a more mainstream director now, but I like the kind of homemade aspect of it. So I'd really like to do more of that. But fingers crossed. I hope the TV show goes well, and I hope that I might be able to do that for a little while. But if not, if we don't make it to a second series, then I don't know. I'm not very good at doing auditions, so I haven't done any auditions for a while. I think I've pretty much pissed on my chips there, having made one or two not so brilliant decisions. But basically I'm just making up as I go along.
Yeah.
It's enjoyable. And if accidentally something becomes incredibly successful, then I will carry on doing it until it's really, really bad, and I'm forced to stop.
Have you heard or seen anything recently, other than what's in the Bug show, that you really liked, but that was unlike anything you'd ever do?
Yeah, lots of things. Woody Allen's new film I thought was really good. Midnight in Paris made my heart soar. I love Woody Allen, but his last few films have been totally unwatchable. I'm a BAFTA voter, so I watched it for BAFTA, and I couldn't believe how good it was. And usually, people, when legends lose it, they don't usually get it back. It's like when Bowie used to release albums, like in the 80s and stuff, people would go, oh, he's back to his brilliant best. You just think, no, he's not.
So for Adam and Joe Podcaster, do you think it's likely to come back anytime soon?
I'd say no, not anytime soon. But I really would be gutted if it never came back, and I think Joe would be too. So, the intention is to, hopefully do some as soon as as soon as our schedules realign. But it's just the gaps are getting longer because Joe's so busy and I'm so busy. I'm more busy than Joe, in fact. I'm far more in demand. But I hope we will. I think we're always on the lookout for a little slot that we can do more in. But probably not for a while.